Hey, Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, I'm actually going to be recording this episode before I publish it significantly. So, the crypto bubbles don't really mean that much, but of course, there is a lot of green on the screen, so that's nice to see. We do see altcoins starting to follow through as Bitcoin is consolidating at this higher level following its pump. But today, I really wanted to talk about credibility building. Maybe you're curious who is actually giving this commentary and, what is the track record that we have over here at Alpha Commission. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and mention one thing just briefly, which is that on Tuesday, September 13th, the CPI data will be coming out, and that's going to be critically important for the Federal Reserve and its understanding of how it may treat interest rates this month, which could be critical to a possible turnaround in the market. So we are going to have all eyes on that CPI data on the 13th and the Federal Reserve meeting on the 21st when they announced their interest rates. Just wanted to make sure that you have that on your radar since this is a macro Monday and that will influence macro policy. Guys, today I'm just going to briefly introduce my track record here at Alpha Commission. If you guys don't know me, of course, my name is Sky. You can see me as Skyfi on the Discord, which you can actually access for free at alphacommission.com. There's not much of an issue to get registered. It's just it's basically just kind of a public forum for those of you not familiar with Discord. It just has a funny name, but it is just a forum for chatting. So if you guys want to join the Discord and to chat with me, go ahead and click the link in the description of this video. Again, it's free, so you can just hang out there with us during the bear market and just, ask questions or share your insights. If I get something wrong, please correct me. And, if you're learning something or if you would like to make a request, then please also feel free to explore those ideas. Guys, we actually have a really strong track record over here at Alpha Commission. And, I've loved crypto ever since its inception. I've been trying to continuously learn about it ever since I first heard about it because when I was a kid, I used to imagine, the money in video games, and I was so frustrated that I could earn a certain amount of money in, for example, Mario or any of these other games like Sonic or whatnot, right? You would put a lot of effort to earning that money, and then, you couldn't transfer it to another game. And I just thought, how cool would that be if you put in all this work in one game and you could just transfer it to another game? And so I actually ended up going to an engineering, one of the most famous and most esteemed, engineering schools, public schools at least. And so I was surrounded by technical friends. Okay, I got my degree in international and global politics and economy. But I was surrounded by just engineers constantly, and we always threw these ideas at each other. We tried to make certain things happen. For a while, I had a business during university where I was building computers for people, and so guys, like the concept of crypto has just been part of me ever since I was a kid. I've really dreamed about this type of thing growing up. I, had detailed discussions with people who were studying to be engineers and grad students in college, and unfortunately, It wasn't me who invented it, but it was Satoshi. And so, well, if a Satoshi is no longer with us, then maybe I should be thankful, him, not me. But guys, like this is something that I've always dreamed about in my life, and so I get very excited by crypto just because the concept is so revolutionary, and I've thought about it so much over the years, even though I didn't know it by the name crypto. The concept of just digitally banking tokens that, in my mind, it was more like the metaverse. It was more like video games. It was more like just a more simple transactions. And I never really considered, oh, that it could be the backbone of banking or NFTs, that sort of thing. And so I have just been kind of just wide-eyed watching this space expand, and I do think that I will continue to grow with it. But that's a little bit about me. And so I do have that global economy, that kind of macro perspective that I do bring to the table if we were just to sit around and talk about some of our strengths. I was a business manager for a international corporation and helped set up three branches in three different countries, including the U.S. And we grew my branch with just me and two other guys, starting with about a 100K seed money. We grew it into a 30 to 40 million dollars per year corporation. And so, if you want to know where I'm coming from, this is the perspective that I have, and why things like foreign exchange rates, why the Federal Reserve, all of these things matter to me, and why do I care to talk about these things. It's just because all of this has been part of my blood for the majority of my lifetime, in terms of things that I enjoy talking about and enjoy exploring conceptually. And so let's just go ahead and jump to the charts to see what have I actually accomplished in terms of macro calls, and what have I actually added in terms of value to the community, as opposed to just all the theoretical stuff that I throw out there, because I'll always give you both case scenarios, right? I'll always give both case scenarios because I could be wrong. And to play devil's advocacy with your own ideas is a strong mark of correct thinking, because you challenge your own thoughts. You stress test your own thoughts until they possibly break, and then you're left with just the best conclusion. Or, at least in trading, we have to make decisions, and some days will be wrong, some days will be right. But if you're correct thinking, then on most days you'll be right, and on the least days you'll be wrong. And so overall, you should be profitable. Now, what I will say is that I have been successful as a trader, but one of the biggest mistakes that I ever made was basically getting kind of suckered into the lure of IDOs, that kind of concept of IDOs. And so, I did try my hand at some of these locked up coins, and these type of starters and these type of things, and it just went terribly wrong, guys, because everything got locked up when I knew we needed to exit the market. I couldn't sell because it was all locked up, and you can just watch, from the top of the market, as your coins just devalue and devalue and devalue. And so, while I won't mention any significant amounts, for the portion of my trading money that was in, and I guess that would actually be holding money, the portion of my holding money which was in those IDOs, and to be honest, is still in those new coins that are just locked up and slowly getting released over time, pretty much worthless in this bear market. That was just a disaster. And where I succeeded was actually in trading, right? So not holding, not having anything locked up, none of this fancy yield stuff and all of that. I mean, it's just so complex. You have to get it timed perfectly. If you have a major dump on the charts, you are going to get seriously injured if you can't pull your coins out immediately. And so where I was successful was trading, and so I tried to apply this to the macro. So, of course, that's what Macro Mondays are about. We want to actually be able to trade, but we want to trade on the higher time frames where we're getting these major swings, where we're avoiding these major lows, except to accumulate, and where we're getting out of the market like at really good timing. And so that's what I'm trying to make myself an expert at in terms of this up and down or that up and down day to day or hour to hour, 4 hour to 4 hour. That's not my strength, right? That's not my forte, guys. So guys, like if you're looking for some of those guys who are just looking to snipe like 5 minute, 15-minute entries and then do a 4 hour move. That's not who I am. I'm going to give you the global perspective. I'm going to give you the macro perspective, the international perspective. I'm going to be putting together all of the concepts which help us grab these big moves, right? Which can be the life changing moves, as opposed to just the little moves that constantly occupy your mind and fill you with intense frustration day to day as you just see wild swings up and down every 4 hours. It drives you crazy. It can drive you crazy. But wouldn't it be nice to just have bought down here, sold up here, bought down here, sold up here, bought down here, sold up here, so that you're only trading like 4 to 10 times per year for your major trades, and then anything that you're doing in between is pretty much just an exercise in capital preservation or just a exercise in kind of out of interest, right? Out of just trying to maximize profits on the swings, as opposed to feeling like you're over leveraged or you're at a critical point where you're going to lose everything, right? Every day or every hour, right? How some people trade. I mean, you see people trading on the minute and they just go crazy, okay, guys? Like their minds are just constantly just checking levels and checking the charts like every hour because their money is at stake, right? And I just personally believe much more in the macro as the way to go, the way that investors do it, the way that venture capitalists do it, the way that institutions do it, right? And I believe that's the way that we should do it if you don't want to die from a heart attack in the field of crypto. And so that's what I'm trying to bring to this space. I hope that I'm adding value as you listen to me. Of course, because I make regular videos, often daily, sometimes more than once daily. It can seem like I'm trying to chase every dip and every pump, but I'm really just trying to give you guys a perspective, just to try to add something daily. But again, my forte is on the big swings. It's not on just the little tiny movements, which of course there are just tons of traders on Twitter and whatever, all these gurus, the pump and dump gurus, who can just help you sort out every 4 hour signal, right? That's not what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to give signals. I'm not trying to give trade calls. I'm trying to guide us along the journey, right? Along the story of Bitcoin, along the story of crypto, as that story is being written, so that we can follow the least treacherous and hopefully one of the most profitable paths, right, on that journey. And it's not about catching the absolute bottom, and it's not about selling at the absolute top, but rather it's about having a great journey along the way. And so, guys, with that preface and that understanding of who I am and what I am about, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these successes because I kid you not, I absolutely did call the Pico top of the market on this last cycle, and I called it 1 month in advance. And guys, like some of you, like really doubted, my ability to understand the market back here. I wasn't particularly well known, and my trading methods weren't particularly well understood. It is a little bit different than most people, and so some people were trying to accuse me of riding on the coattails of others. But I guarantee you that I called the absolute Pico top a month in advance. And by the way, guys, I also called 53,000 right here. And while personally I made the mistake of not getting out when I called 53,000 on the top during this mid-channel pump, right? And I just lost a ton on this vertical candle, which was an insane candle down, right? So I had lost what we had built up right here because I didn't have proper stop losses on. That was my bad, right? But I did call 53,000 as the top of this mid channel. And guys, I just want to point out that I am very good at calling these type of things, and even if I'll give multiple perspectives, at least what I'm saying when I feel something, when I feel very strongly about something, it is worth noting. However, I'm not going to go back that far. I'm not going to go back into the previous, tops and the previous markets. Let's just examine what I've been doing while I've had this channel, because this was pre Alpha Commission YouTube. This was back when I just had the Discord. But let's just examine what I've been doing while we've had the YouTube. And let's just go back here to show you how I actually called the top and just give you some evidence, because this goes to credibility. Is it true or is it not? So first of all, this is a clip from the corner of this post over here, and I just want to show you the date, okay? So the date is 10/15, and this post is still in the Alpha Commission Discord. So this is when I posted this, right? And there's just a lot of blah, blah, blah on this one. But the significant portion I just pulled out of that text, right? And so what you can see here is that I created a chart, right? That I developed that shows possibly how controlled this bull run might be. Every leg up, right, are exactly the same length. And so I'm demonstrating how I'm creating a model based upon the pullbacks and the pumps on this chart. And what I was hypothesizing is that institutions are pumping this market in a controlled fashion, and that's why we had a rounded top instead of a blow off top, because this was a controlled sine wave by business interest, and that they showed their hand by having exactly the same run ups and exactly the same pullbacks on all of these instances. And so that allowed me to create a theory, which, by the way, nobody else talked about. This was my own concept coming out of my own head, deriving it from data that I examined myself after having already made a sine wave previously in the summer, which a lot of the guys in Alpha Commission and my previous Discord, blockchain technology, know about. And so, using the concept of the rounded top and the sine wave pattern that I had been developing, I suggested that we could project a top to the market because of the evidence that the institutions were pumping this in a controlled fashion, and that they didn't realize that their bots or algorithms or whatever they're using in terms of injecting liquidity and taking liquidity out of the market was just being very symmetrical in a way that wouldn't be obvious if you were trading on the hourly or on the 4 hour or even on the daily. But if you were macro minded, then you could take that into account and you could actually make a projection on it. So, again, my specialty is on macro. And so, having made this out and then suggesting a buffer area, which I calculated using, basically certain formulas that I derived, I suggested that there would be a region up to 70,000. You guys can see this number here. It's a little bit blurred as I stretch this chart, but you can see that the region that I gave us was 73,000 to project the top of the market to 70,000. And just because this is for credibility, I just want to show you what I was saying. Let's see. Therefore, I would predict a pullback or retracement soon right here at 62K or 64K. And if it turns into a rounded top the way that we had instead of a blow off top to like 100K, right? So if my theory was correct that we're having a sine wave rounded top, I would expect us to reach only 70K. And again, guys, I made this prediction 10/15, right? October 15th, right? And so, guys, like what I was saying is I would expect us to reach only 70K by the end of the year in December, and then a possible crash, cyclical sine wave model that I had developed myself, which might go again and keep repeating. And so this is what I was projecting, and it is what I'm still projecting in the future, that we are resetting the sine wave model that I developed, and I obviously and very clearly predicted a rounded top that would reach 70K by December, in December. And then I did give the opposite, opinion because again, I challenged my own ideas. However, if we have a blow off top and if we go we'd go parabolic, so there'd be no rounded top at 70K. And it would be obvious that we would reach at least 85 to 100K by an extended sine wave model. So this was an alternative model that I developed with blow off tops, right? And so, as you can see, the one that I'm petitioning here, the model that I'm actually warning the community about, again, October 15th, what I'm warning the community about is that we were likely to explore the range, get a slight pullback at 62K, 63K, and then we would push into December to 70K, and then that would be it. And then what did I say? A crash, right? I didn't say a pullback or anything. I said a crash, right? We would get a crash. And so, guys, let's just go over here to the charts because, again, that was my original idea using concepts that I had developed myself way back in this area where I was predicting 53 exactly as the top, and we got to 52,900. And then, so where is October 15th? October 15th is right here. I said we'd get a pullback of between 62K and 64K. Look, we pumped to 66K, then we had a pullback, and then what did I say would happen? I said by December, right? By into December, we would reach 70K. Look at this. This is 11/11. We reached 69K. And then by the time December came around, of course, we were already crashing. And so the fact that I gave that warning over here when everyone thought we were going to 100K, but I was the only one making a projection of precisely 70K 1 month in advance. And I'm glad I gave that warning then and warned the people around me about it back then, Because what happened is it actually happened even faster than I expected. It happened in November, and that was accelerated, of course, by the Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell coming out and suggesting that he might increase interest rates. And so I was hypothesizing at a hypothetical business style sine wave cycle on Bitcoin, which would top out at 70K, and that ended up being dead accurate a month before anyone else, I guarantee you. Go find someone else who predicted 70K 1 month in advance and who has evidence for it. Go ahead, I'll wait, Alpha Fam. Please find me that person. Just moving forward, of course, we don't want to just sit there, right? That was a hypothesis. And so, what would happen? What would happen is this would end up playing out, and then you can see how I warned people once this thing did start actually going. So let's see, the top was actually November 10th, and then by November 26th, a lot of people were stuck in their positions because we reached 70K, and then we started to pull back, and people started to panic, right? People in Alpha Commission started to panic, but I just wanted to show, because there was a lot of controversy on the downside where I was actually arguing with people in my group. And by the way, there's like 10, 20 people you can argue with, right? In a group of 1,000 people. And so yes, I was getting very irritated by a number of people who didn't believe in the same thing that I believed, which it's not their fault. They just had different models that they were using. But in some cases, I argued as if they were all the same person, just all coming at me the same way. And sometimes I was too strong in how I approached people. And again, I should apologize for that. But again, I was trying to warn people a month in advance that we would top at 70K. And just for that entire month, nobody believed me. And as we pulled back, nobody believed me. So now I'm here trying to help people now that the crash is starting to happen. And people still don't believe that it's a crash. People don't believe that this is going to be a mega cycle reset, a sine wave cycle reset on the macro. They just don't believe it at all. And so I'm trying to give advice here. So this is 11/26, right after the crash began. And I'm trying to give advice to these people where we fell to right here. You see this bottom? Right here at this bottom, as we fell from the top, this was the first leg down, the first dramatic leg down. And everyone was saying, oh no, I should sell everything. And I did, my typical analysis, and I said, guys, personally, I wouldn't sell at 54 right here, right after this huge candle down right here. I said, I would try to wait to see if we get a pity bounce over the weekend to 56K or even back to 59K. Because again, if you look at the last top of the bull, actually, there's lots of reasons why I picked that number, but just to give them a simple reason, I was just trying to show that under these circumstances, how our price action has bounced in the past. But all the metrics suggested that we should get a fairly good bounce here. And I just want to point out where did we bounce to? Right here, which is exactly 59K. Personally, I wouldn't sell at 54. I would wait for a bounce to 56 or 59. What did we bounce to? 59. That was a $5,000 move, which altcoins were going crazy up and down, like almost like half their price, like a quarter of their price. They were going up and down like crazy during this fall on every little bounce. And so it was important to guide people to sell on a bounce, not to sell in a panic drop. And so doing that analysis, I tried to save people a lot of money, and I was able to save some friends in that way. And then, we would have debates about this stuff, and I just wanted to show like how I had been arguing this not just in October, but that I had continued to. The best time to dump your alts was either at the failure of Bitcoin to rise above 59K earlier today, right? Or like when we had this failure at 59K here, when it just dumped to hell, right? Earlier today, or 1120, right? On 1120, which was here. And so I was telling them like this is the level that we had to watch out for. And so guys, like if we retouch that level, you better just scale out. Like it's looking bad, right? And so, the bounces at 56K were buy signals for trading, right? But conditional holding only if we broke 60K, and we never broke 60K. So that means do not hold, just sell, right? And so here at 54.5K, we're just at support, but how strong is it? I was suggesting not very strong, and look what happened. We just dumped to hell right after that last pity bounce. So guys, this is dead accurate. Okay, this is dead accurate in terms of helping people save their money and get the heck out of Dodge before they just lost it all. You see what I'm saying? So, guys, I just want to show you my track record. I want to build up some credibility and trust with you guys because sometimes that gets lost on the day to day trading. You guys might not understand just how much work I've been doing to try to help people, right, in this community. And then, guys, I just want to point out because we can go to the weekly. And I want to show you that it's not just that I was talking out of my butt or just making theories or whatnot, but that we also had confirmations using the EMAs. So I'm going to put all my EMAs on there, but I don't think that we need this. I just want to show you the pink line, the red line, and the yellow line. You can see that it's matching up there, right? And so I'm just going to turn off these EMAs, and then we're just going to go back to the daily where we can get more resolution on price action. I'm just going to show you where these things crossed over. And this is where I was advising people to sell. This is where I sold the last of whatever I could that wasn't locked up in those stupid starters and whatnot. And then, so I got everything out of the market by 59K. And that, of course, was the crossing of this 4 EMA and the 9 EMA, those two EMAs that I personally use, right? That's something that's very specialty to me. That 4 EMA is something that I use very heavily. And when I saw the squeeze play on the 4 and the 9, that was my standard for the line in the sand to get everyone out of the market. And of course, my friend Crypto Reda actually had seen us close on the daily. Let me show you here. Close a candle on the daily underneath the 9, and he suggested to me around 63K, 62K that I might also want to be watching the market. And so we were surrounded by a lot of intelligent people backing up these type of theories with each other. But just to my own credibility, I called 70K, right? And then I said the last line in the sand was 59K. And sure enough, this thing just continued to squeeze down. And then there would be another squeeze play to the downside. And so using the EMA theory, which I am quite strong with EMAs on this channel, you guys understand that I saw that this was in fact a confirmed macro downtrend, and so this was the bottom line when I got everyone out of the market, at least who believed me, right? And a lot of people were trying to be moon boys still, but this is when I chose the line in the sand to get people out, and I didn't wait for a 10 and a 20 squeeze. I got them out at that 4 and 9 squeeze, and ever since then I have been very, very loyal to using the 4 EMA in all my considerations because it does give me just an incredible heads up. And guys, so that was the squeeze play that was just the hard physical evidence on the chart that this was going to be a macro downtrend. And then, guys, what did I point out? I pointed out this head and shoulders, which when we did have that dramatic fall, remember when I was telling people to get out at 59K and that I said that 54K, right, that 53.5 would not hold. It was very weak support. So I was telling people, get the heck out on the next bounce because this thing was likely to break. We broke down. We basically confirmed a left shoulder and a head, which then bounced on a wick, and it was just dead obvious that we were putting in a macro head and shoulders. And I was telling people, guys, that macro head and shoulders was going to lead to $16,000, and people are like, you're nuts, Skyfi. Like, why are you being like a perma bear, right? What, the 35K is the bottom of the market. Like, we can't go under 30K. We can't go under 29K. Like, that's impossible. We'll never get down there. And I said, guys, like, I've done analysis on Bitcoin, and all the legitimate head and shoulders actually do end up playing out. And what I found is that this was a technically perfect head and shoulders, which over time should play out. Now, because this spanned months, right? This was like a 5 months, 6 months construction on the chart. It could take 6 months, it could take a year to play out. And so I told these guys, like, yeah, we're gonna have ups and downs, and we may retest the neckline, but this is going to play out. And that was one of my strong warnings, and that was one reason why I told people it's not the time to hodl. It's not the time to get into C-Pool or Corrado or any of this other stuff, Cadena. It doesn't. The time was to sell it up here, and then basically preserve your capital on the way down, or make some money trading if you can, but be traders. Do not be hodlers at these levels, because we were going to go down to potentially $20,000 to $15,000, and I was telling people $25,000 who were in disbelief, because $25,000 was a number that they could stand. But then the people who I knew were intelligent, I told them, like, we could go possibly as low as 15K, and that would not be unusual for these type of macro structures on Bitcoin. And so, guys, again, I can show you where I've talked about this stuff, but I have mentioned it on my videos in Alpha Commission several times on our way down. So I won't just I don't need to waste time on that, because this video is going to get very long. Moving forward, I did recommend these strong buy and sell zones. You guys who have joined me recently, you probably remember that I bought at the Pico bottom down here and recommended several coins that we're tracking right here at the Pico bottom, and that we sold them on the way up until we got to a 25K, right? And we all bought at like 18.5, right, or something like that, and then we sold at the 25K. And likewise, when we had this higher low, you can see this is a low, and then we had a higher low, and then we had a higher low. When we had those higher lows there, and we had that buy pressure, I did recommend people to buy into here, and I did recommend people to buy on this higher low, and I have a lot of evidence for that. I have it recorded in my friends group in AR Collective. I have witnesses that have mentioned, that I made these calls. And then, of course, in Alpha Commission on the YouTube, I did mention in probably 10 different videos to sell at 47K, that we were not going to get over this 45 to 47K. And so I strongly, strongly advised everyone to sell at the absolute pico top of this pump right here. And you guys can review my videos if you want, but that's just a dead fact in the Alpha Commission, that I made that call multiple times, well before we got there, well before we were anywhere close to that number. And that was based upon fib lines and other assessments that just suggested that this dump wasn't over. It was based upon the Federal Reserve. It was based upon interest rates. It was based on macro economics, that we were going to have a hard dump. And of course, I did give hypothetical cases for a pump, because a lot of people believed this was the bottom. But you know what I recommended to you guys in terms of calls. This was the call that I made. You can say that this was a shorting call, but these were the long calls that I made, and then this was a shorting call. And then I didn't make another strong call until the Pico bottom here, and then a strong call to get out here. So guys, that's my track record with making strong calls during this downtrend, and it has just been spot on. You cannot get more accurate than that. No, I did not get the Pico bottom here. No, I did not grab that wick, but I did make use of these higher lows and the indicators, and also the daily news, right, with economics that did suggest where we could go, and also the limitation based upon the stock market and other factors which I've been analyzing analyzing day to day with you guys now for almost a year or perhaps thereabouts, right? And so, guys, Alpha Commission has been a real good friend to you guys in that regard, and I have not been pushy in terms of, take this call, take that call, get rich quick, buy these stupid coins, right? Pay for this service. I've charged you guys nothing for this, and yet I saved a ton of people's asses by calling that Pico top a month in advance, by giving them advice how to scale the F out, before we had this just flash crash, and then also how to make some money back because people were really hurting. They were really suffering really bad at the bottom of this, and they needed to make some money. And I helped our friends put money back in their pockets, which they had lost. And I don't get any thanks for that, man. I don't get anything for that. Okay, I just get a lot of headaches with the people complaining. That's what I get in my DMs. There's a couple really nice people like Tom. Shout out to Tom. Shout out to some friends at the AR. Shout out to guys who are active in the Alpha Commission Discord. But in terms of just random DMs, like people get mad over the weirdest things, man. And there's some kind of funny comments sometimes that are just like, "What are you talking about?" And so that's why I feel like I have to build up my credibility because people are constantly trying to attack you in this industry, and yet this is an incredibly good track record, guys. I've not given any significantly hard calls other than the Pico top to get in right here, to get out right here, to get in right here, and to get out right here. Those are the major calls that I've made, and any little kind of like day-to-day small trade stuff is just advice about where momentum is, that sort of thing. And small trades as I try to help our friends recover money after these type of catastrophic dumps. I just try to help people make some money back after catastrophic dumps because I feel bad for people who've lost everything. There were people in the Luna crash and stuff who just lost everything. And it's really sad, guys. Like, it's really sad to watch that happen to friends and to people around you. And so that's why I'm doing my best, okay? Doing my best here. And guys, on our way down, I've had some unusual theories, right? Such as my teardrop theory and how we break down. And I've just used it time and time again. Teardrop, cry, teardrop, cry, teardrop, we're crying, teardrop, we're crying, teardrop, we're crying, teardrop, we're crying, right? And so you can see that every time my parabolic growth curves break down, there's just tears running down our cheek. And so, guys, like my teardrop theory has also protected a lot of people, even in these partial dumps, and people gave me a hard time about that. I saw other YouTubers who obviously watched my YouTube and were making criticisms about these type of analyses. And to be honest, I've been dead right. And they've been dead wrong. And those same guys, they called the bottom as, like 30K or like 25K. And I was saying, no, no, we're going to get down to 20 to 15K and in that range. And that's most likely what is going to happen. And they were thinking that's impossible, but guys, look who's still standing. And look who's saying, I'm sorry, it's not me, it's those other YouTubers, okay? So, guys, let's just move on from that. You can also see here because I'm trying to show you some evidence as well, not just what we've talked about, but evidence. So you can see here, this is a screenshot of one of my videos, a clip from my video, right, at 43 minutes in on April 9th. Right, the importance of 25K Bitcoin. Okay, so of course, the area that I have marked out here in terms of the target, again, I say 25K because that's what the general market can tolerate. They could tolerate 25K. So we were at 40K. I don't know if you can see it very well in this image, but we were at 41K approximately. We were in the 40K area. And the bottom that I was predicting for our range was right here. You can see this blue line, right? That one lines up, look at that, right under 18K. You see that? So what's right under 18K? 17.5K, right? where did we hit on the charts in terms of the bottom? 17.6K. So it's quite obvious that the number for the bottom underneath this green circle that I have there, that number on the charts was under 18K. And where did we hit an actual bottom? Right, 17.5K. So guys, I just want to show you this because people might not believe that I'm giving them accurate information. They might not know who I am. They might not know my track record. And so if you guys are watching this show, then you can see on April 9th, I predicted, right, that the bottom of the range that we're going to hit is going to be about 17.5K, and then the top of that range would be about 20K. So that 17 to 20K area is where I was projecting on April 9th. Okay, guys, April 9th. It's now September. It's now September. This was April, guys. I projected that we were going to be hitting that area, and that significant number in the middle there was approximately 19,000, right? 19,000-ish bucks. And where are we right now, right? We're actually above that. So even on April 9th, basically called the bottom of where we currently are. And let's just see, when was April 9th? Like, what price were we on April 9th? April 9th? April 9th, we were right here. Guys, do you know anybody else who called a range to a 16 to 17.5 with evidence, right? That called 20 to 17.5 on April 9th before we even crashed from this top. I was saying that we were going to hit in this area when we were up here at 40, 45,000 bucks actually, right? So let's see, that's fifth, let's see, ninth. Okay, so actually 40, yeah, somewhere around there, around 44,000 bucks. Like that's where we were, okay? Before we broke down on any of these legs, I was calling that area. So guys, again, I'm just trying to emphasize what the credibility is here and go through these things because they have in fact played out. And then let's see, that's the one we just reviewed. And then of course we also had this one, which was interesting, where I tried to show you, right, where you can how you can actually drive the bottom yourself, how you can find the bottom yourself using this methodology that I had pointed out. And you can see this curve, right? You can see this curve, and I just made a zoom. I zoomed in at some point later on in the video. This was June. This video was made in June, and I zoomed in June. Right. So here's let's see, the video June 12th. June 12th is when this video was, and we were still at like 30K Bitcoin, right? And then where did I suggest that a bottom could be? Between these two green boxes. So you just make a projection down, right? And so that would be approximately right here. And where would that price be on this chart? It would be somewhere around there, somewhere around 16,000, somewhere around 17,000 bucks, because you can see 15,000 is underneath it. This is every 1,000 bucks increases pretty fast. So somewhere around you know, somewhere around 16, 17,000 bucks is where I was projecting that white line would be. And of course, this model changes over time. So if we had just gone sideways forever, that price would have risen. If we had just dropped straight down, that price could have been really low, like maybe 14, maybe 15K. But because it would rise over time, and if we move down kind of on a diagonal, then it would be approximately that 17, $18,000 area. And so even on June 12th, I was projecting, that kind of 17, $18,000 range for a possible bottom. Where was that? That was around here before we fell down, right? So we were still 30,000. We were up here and we hadn't fallen down yet. And I was projecting that where we would fall down to was here. And where did we fall down to? Right there. Okay, and I used a model to get there. I used a calculation model. I didn't use like a bear flag or whatnot. I used a calculation model that was totally innovative, which no one else is using, and I called it the Alpha Arc, but it's kind of like a modification of some of those other type of like rainbow charts and things that you make. But I derived an arc, and then I derived a possible bottom that we would hit, and guess where that bottom just happened to be? Right here, based upon that arc and my own macro analysis, totally unique to my own insights that I added to the community. And then, of course, you guys might wonder, well, what was there anything special that I've ever pointed out on this stuff? Do I just make some radical theory on my own? But no, I also have been using things like the Wyckoff method, where I showed you that we were putting in a clear Wyckoff pattern, and that's one of the reason, not just the fib lines, right, not just fib circles, etc., that we could get rejected here, not just support and resistance, but also that we were putting in a Wyckoff redistribution schematic. And a lot of people are saying, we don't believe in Wyckoff, that's just a conspiracy BS. You're just kind of nutty. You're just one of those people looking for fractals and stuff. Hey guys, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, screw you. Boom. Like we nailed it, man. We nailed it. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but I nailed it. Okay, I got it. I made that call. And so, guys, that's what I'm bringing to the table here, in case you didn't know. Okay. Let's see here, and then of course I can show you. I can show you crypto warning May 2nd, dangerous Wyckoff pattern on Bitcoin. Everyone thought this was a channel. It's going to bounce up. I was telling them, no, guys, this is your last chance to get out. We are going to break down. And look at this. You can see on my video, May 2nd, dangerous Wyckoff pattern. BTC must show strength because see this SOW on the Wyckoff distribution schematic? SOW means signs of weakness. So we must show signs of strength this week or we'll crash, right? And guess what happened? The rest is history, right? Perfect. Perfect call. Guys, I also this is May 21st, used the macro, right? The macro on the RSI to show you how our patterns ever since 2011. I analyzed 10 years of data for Bitcoin to show how we're approaching those macro lows and how our EMAs were likely to work. And just to tell you guys, like that the big influencers were still manipulating you and that we had a ways to go down. That was May 21st. And I was trying to warn you that we were going to go down. That was May 21st. So right here, when the influencers were saying we bottomed out, like every influencer was saying this was the bottom during that time. And I was showing you with evidence why we are going to break down. And so I had multiple theories, and I also had, multiple evidences why we were going to break down. And guess who was right and who was wrong? I mean, I just have been protecting this community every step of the way. I've really been doing my best to protect this community. And sometimes I've been strong, sometimes I've been heavy handed with how I treated people that I disagreed with in the discords and stuff like that. And that may be just, my personality, or it may be that there's just so many people during bull markets and things like that that I just get overwhelmed by 1,000 people, who are in the Discord. And I don't mean to be a tough guy. I'm not trying to be a tough guy. I'm literally every day I'm literally just about trying to save people, trying to help people, and trying to just make people, make it so that people aren't getting ruined. You know what I mean? Because people get ruined in this industry. That's what fuels these bull markets, and I'm trying to be the opposite of those bit boys, the opposite of those, crypto ran and crypto banter type guys. I don't like that type of thing. I'm trying to add something more sincere, and I hope you guys can see that in the evidence, where there's been no shilling, there's been no double dealing, there's been no advertising, right? There's been no charging of any service whatsoever, and yet I've been delivering that day after day, right? Guys, and then of course I did also point out this bear flag, right, which did suggest to the bottom here of 17K. Like, so not only was I using like these other evidences and my own theories, but I was also using patterns and these other things in order to just suggest that we would fall to 17.5K, and that bear flag, which I had pointed out, you can go check the videos, actually did end up playing out. And now I'm not so sure that this is a bear flag anymore because it is very distended. But we still have to kind of hypothesize what's possible, if this is like a bear flag, and it just seems unlikely at some point, but we can get into that in future episodes. This one is getting kind of long. Guys, what else did I show you? I also showed you this broadening descending wedge. You can go along. These are recent episodes, right? Because this is where we are these days. So when we had this drop down to 17.5, which I told you multiple ways, multiple times to be prepared, we could drop to 17.5, right? I showed you, right? That we had a broadening descending wedge. So if you did lose your money there, how you could get it back and which area to target. And the Alpha Fam bought here, we bought here, we bought here. We bought the Pico bottom, guys. We bought the Pico bottom and we sold all the way up to this line. And then we also, just kept going with this in order to be highly successful. And I'll show you something that a lot of you guys may have missed. But on July 25th, I showed you how we could break down, like well before it happened, right? A month before today, I showed you how we could break down to that 19K area, right? I showed you to expect it, guys. That's why we took profit up here. I showed you guys to expect that we could break down to 19K and then likely to pump up to 22K. And if we were able to secure 22K, to expect a pump perhaps to a 28K, right? And then guys, look, that was July 25th. I'm showing you how credible this channel is. July 25th, right? Right here in this top area, I showed you guys it's time to start taking our profits that we bought in down here. It's time to start taking our profits because I highly project we're going to drop down to the 19K area. Where did we drop to? The 19K area. And then what did I say? Like we have to overcome 22K in order to pump to 28K where there's that CME gap. And look here, we're trying to break 22K as we speak. So guys, if you think that I didn't give you a possible guide through this, think again because I absolutely did a month, a month in advance, a month and a half in advance to expect what we are doing. A month and a half in advance, you guys could have understood the master key to this market. And then, at the top, I mentioned, well, you don't have to sell right there, right? We also have this rising wedge pattern that would break down to here. And what happened? We had a rising wedge that broke down right to there, right? Perfect trading. And again, we can make mistakes day to day, but this has been extremely accurate. And then I suggested we had a falling wedge that has a 70% chance to break to the upside. And while at first I thought it was this wedge right here, okay, so I got a little bit confused, guys, and then we broke down or something like this. I just had it drawn a little bit differently. It just ends up, yeah, because I was using this point right here, right? So, you know, something like this, and I thought that it was going to break to the upside, and then we ended up breaking down, and we retested it basically at the apex of the wedge, and so now we know that that wasn't the critical contact point. That's why we trade price action. We don't trade patterns, alpha fam. Like patterns are great, but they can be manipulated, as I've said many times in many videos. Patterns can be manipulated, and so this is the actual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches, significant touches to break to the upside. And look, We're following the measured move. This is the measured move that I had put out, and we're trying to break that high right now. We're trying to get to that high right now. And so, guys, I've been guiding you along the way. I can't call everything with 100% accuracy. If a trend line hits like this, and so I'm calling this wedge, right? It's not going to be my fault if the market makers dump us and then they pump us, right? Because the measured move should have been a breakout right here. Like that's how this wedge should have broken out. And then, this was just whale games. This was institutional games, just liquidating everybody, right, on the retest and then pumping it. And so I'm sorry if any of you got confused by this move, but the technical pattern was still saying to the upside. And that's what the technical pattern is that I presented to you. We had a perfect retest and then pumped to the upside. And guys, in the group, I actually did point that out. So, again, like there are benefits to being in the Discord. You can get some type of insights into those type of things. It is worthwhile to be in the Discord. Let's just go ahead and just see what else we have going on here. Now we can talk about the future, right? In the future, we can also talk about these potential descending, broadening wedges that potentially could take us up to 28,000, right? Up to 30,000. And so we can talk about this in the future, whether or not we get confirmations on the breakdown of these things. So I'm still adding this additional value, which could suggest movement to the upside, right, guys? And then if you think like these patterns don't work out, like if you just think this looks nutty, like what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Skyfi? Like what is this alpha commission nonsense, right? I mean, guys, look at this in the past. We had one here, boom, hit my target perfectly, and what did we do? We had a huge kind of consolidation area that was highly profitable. Look what we did over here. We had a descending broadening wedge, A, B, C, D, confirmation, breakout, boom, top of the market. A, B, C, D, breakdown. We're trying to confirm a breakout, and then our target would be somewhere around 30K. Okay? So I mean, I can't make this pattern work perfectly. It's up to the market. But what I can do is add value to your understanding and show you how it's worked in the past, right? I mean, that's what I can add. Do you guys like this type of content or do you not like this type of content, right? So this is what I'm trying to add, right, in terms of value to the community. And of course, we can't close this episode without commenting on the Alpha Origin channels, which have just nailed it the entire time, right? The entire time. It nailed it. Do not buy in the red zone up here. This is just way overpriced in the purple zone. Don't do it. Under the yellow line, we're likely to start seeing capitulation. Boom, capitulation. Under the white line, we're likely to have the final stage of capitulation. Boom, final stage of capitulation. And then once we reach the bloodline, we have to be on watch for a possible bottom pattern to start being put in, whether it's in the green zone like in COVID, or whether it's just in this kind of cooled off blue zone like in 2018. We have to be on guard for that. And while I have theories that we could go lower, why do you think I call this the bloodline? Why do you think I have this green box marked out? You guys who watch this channel know that episode after episode after episode of showing you the alpha channels, right? The alpha origin channels here, that these have been the green boxes that I've been using, and that I've been warning you that underneath this bloodline is when it's finally okay to DCA. And when did we get under that bloodline? Right here. Right here. This is the first time that we've been underneath my bloodline. And I don't know if you guys are listening to me or not, right? But you could have accumulated there and you wouldn't have been bad off. And probably in the long run, you won't be either. Not financial advice. I'm just saying, based upon this model. Okay? Saw it over here. We didn't even get that chance over here. This is a better relative value than back here in 2018. And we were under there for a blink of an eye. I gave these lines out months and months and months in advance. That bloodline has been there for months. It's up to you guys to decide to pull the trigger. I'm not your mommy. I'm not your daddy, right? Don't call me pappy, right? I'm not going to control your wallet. You guys have to decide what you think about the market, what's your theory of the market, how far you think that we can fall. And I can just give you macro theories, macro concepts, and it's not confirmed. None of this is confirmed until we have those weekly crossings on the EMA, just like we had on the downside, until we have the weekly crossings to the upside, and we just don't yet. It's probably going to be in this region up here. So you may miss the Pico bottom, right? Or me may dump further. I'm not telling you to buy. I'm just saying that relative to the price action that we've had so far, I could never tell you, I could never advise you with any ethical standard. I could never advise you to buy above this green box, unless it was for a quick trade. But while we're underneath or in this green box or underneath my bloodline, that's pretty much gravy, guys. Like there's no reason to be bearish if you're underneath the bloodline. That's the time to be greedy. Not up here when the rest of the market is greedy. The time to be greedy is down here. Up to you to pull the trigger. I'm not your mommy. Guys, and then I can also have my own theories, right, of what I'd like to see, right? Divergences that could help spring us up, this type of thing. Look at that. I had this marked out before this pump. This was the divergence that I wanted to see, okay? And I was talking about it when we were up here. I said I wanted to see us to get a lower low so that we would build up a divergence that would have a lot of energy that could take us on a macro run. But we didn't get a lower low. We got a higher low, which is fine, but it means that we just didn't have that bullish divergence that tends to mark absolute bottoms. And so there's still a question about whether this is the absolute bottom or not. We could still go to 10K. We could still go to 14K, right? But I mean, I'm not going to give a hard opinion on that. I'm not trying to make calls. I'm trying to help everyone think. You guys can make your own decisions, all right? You're big boys. But we can also apply fractals, all right? We can apply fractals, put on those alpha origin channels, and just see like how maybe the EMAs might end up curving this market. If this is the bottom, this is the bottoming structure you would kind of want to see, something like that. And so I can help you identify also what the bottom might look like hypothetically if we have bottomed. You start seeing something like this, you might want to consider to buy. Not financial advice, just being a friend, just entertainment, just education, right? We might see something like this, right? And it might happen more rapidly than you think. So you throw on those weekly EMAs like I taught you, right? And you think long and hard. And I also have weird concepts like this that just end up working out. Price action, top of this egg. Price action, top of this egg. Price action through the middle, top, middle, right? Top, middle. This one's curving on the bottom of the next egg. What does that mean? I don't know. It's just funny stuff, man. We can also do funny stuff, right? Let's see, what else do I show you guys? Look, we've analyzed Fed meetings and how price action moves over the when the Federal Reserve has meetings, and calculated things based on drops so that we could project when the next possible outcome would happen, right? So we do a lot of work over here at Alpha Commission. We can make hypotheticals about just showing, like, what if this is a fractal of this, right? Could this end up having us drop similarly the way that we dropped up here? I mean, that's one way that we could explore the green side. So I have to also give you the other side of the picture. I can't just be a perma bull or a perma bear. We have to consider both things, and then you guys can evaluate that on your own, and we can see that, look, we have a diagonal that we got rejected from here, but if we get accepted by it and sit on top of it, that's why I'm telling you 22,000 is that standard. If we get to 22,000, then this is a totally different picture than this one. Not only do you have that weekly, the weekly structure slightly different, but you also have broken that diagonal and sat on it, and you're doing something totally different than what you did up here. But if we get rejected right here, right, if we can't break 22K, then this could be a massive breakdown, retest that's followed by a bigger breakdown. That's why I told you guys you don't need to FOMO into pumps. If you didn't buy at the bottom where I suggested that it was looking good, then you don't have to FOMO the pump. You can buy a confirmation. It just so happens that the confirmation is over 22K. Okay, I can't do anything about that, guys. Like that's just how it is. Let's see here. Let me see if I can try to find. Let's see what else. Yeah, just showing you how we had a kind of a diagonal and we broke up and then we turned around. This could be a breakup and then we just turn around, just kind of like a fake out. We did it before, we can do it again. I'm not trying to tell you what's going to happen. I'm just trying to give you something to think about. This could also end up being a bull flag, right? And then maybe it really does break above. Personally, I think there's a lot of good reasons to think that this could turn into a bull flag. But we're going to have to see. We're going to have to watch this together, guys. And so, what could a best case scenario look like? Maybe something like this, right? And that's very simple. That's very simple to think about like this. Oh, that's very easy to draw out. Did you even think about that, Skyfi? Like, are you just grabbing, a pen and paper and just scribbling something? I showed you this like a couple months ago. This structure I showed you a couple months ago. And I want to show you how I derive stuff like that through very complex thinking about what could be possible based upon history, right? You guys like history, right? The future often follows, rhymes with history. And so I've developed these type of models, just like I developed the sine wave model, just like I developed the rounded top model based and was able to project 70K as the top of the market. This is a model that I'm continuously working on. And guys, it just so happens I showed you this months ago. I showed you this months ago. There's a video where I actually showed you me building it months ago on our YouTube. And look, like we're hitting the green box area. Like we've actually hit the green box area under 25K, which I was suggesting that's a critical threshold. And then, we're sitting in that pretty area that looks really nice. And if history, I mean, if the future rhymes with history, then maybe we could see something like this. And maybe we don't get a major dump right now. Maybe we get a major dump next year, and it depends on a global financial crisis. If we have a global financial crisis, maybe we get like a COVID style dip, but maybe we just get a shallow dip. And maybe this is the best case scenario, right? I'm working really hard for you guys, right? You see the effort that I'm putting in. You've seen our track record. I'm sorry if the day-to-day little like 5 minute, 1 hour trades have been off here or there, but we've been doing dang good for people and saving people's butts, okay, from this entire downturn. Starting a month before anybody else called the top, I called the Pico top of the market. And I may have called the Pico bottom multiple months in advance, but we'll find out. You guys saw my Alpha Origin channels. You guys know what my bloodline is. If we dip below the bloodline, for me, those are just DCA zones, guys. Everything underneath that. You guys know my opinion on that. So, yeah, we can make hypothetical lows. about where, let me turn this off from log, about where we could potentially drop to if there's just a crisis. This is my crisis low. And you can extend that into the future if it happens next year, right? This is my crisis low, and this bottom line will be rising over time. And yeah, my wish list is that we could hit these levels so that I can buy in on this CME gap if it ever gets filled, right? This little CME gap over here on the professional exchanges or on Binance's Scamwick. I wish that we could drop down to 7,000 to 10,000, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. That's just, I told you guys every time that I present this, I tell you guys I could be wrong. This is just me dreaming. This is me being greedy at the bottom. Okay, this is me being greedy at the bottom. All of my models suggest that we are pretty close to the bottom already. All of my models suggest we're close to the bottom. These are just my hypothetical like wish list, right? I even call this my wish list down here, my wish list, right? To be able to touch these levels. Because we may never get to, right? So I can dream about it. Guys, when we broke up here, like we actually retested it already. I mean, yeah, we could retest it again. Doesn't have to happen. This could just be the bottom. So, guys, that's what I wanted to present to you, right? That I do give you both cases, but I show you the right way as well in terms of what I strongly feel is the right way. And then I'll also present, wishful thinking and what I would like to see, or alternative cases like if there's a global financial crisis, we could have a very deep low. But if everything just is fine, if it all works out and we're all just panicking about inflation, panicking about energy, panicking about China and Russia, Taiwan and Ukraine, all of these things, if we're just panicking, then maybe the bottom of the market is closer than you think. All right. It's up to you guys to decide. My job was to protect you from the top, not to FOMO in at the top. My job was to protect you to preserve your capital in the middle. Your job is to decide when to buy at the bottom in the last 1/3. That's up to you guys. Okay? I can't pull the trigger for you. I can't make that financial decision for you, but I can be your friendly guide along the way. So, guys, it's been a long journey. It's been a very long year. I think we may be starting a new era soon. After September, whatever happens in September, I think we may be starting a new era of Bitcoin coming into 2023. And yeah, it's going to be a bear market, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be massive runs as well, right? Just a reminder, been helping you guys out since October last year, and dead accurate. So if anybody, questions me, or if you'd like to promote this YouTube, or share the link, or join the Discord, or help me out in any way, right? Sharing your thoughts and ideas, those type of things, please consider it. As your alpha for the day, stay safe and happy trading.